There exists a switch in your brain, and once you flip it, you stop being controllable. They don't teach you this in school, not in therapy, not in any book stamped safe for public consumption, because if you knew how to access it, how to use it, you'd stop obeying the invisible rules that keep you quiet, anxious, and small. This switch isn't mystical. It's not fantasy. It's a neurological rebellion, and it terrifies every system built to keep you obedient. You were trained to fear your own power, taught to flinch when you feel anger, to retreat when you feel intensity. They labeled it toxic, dangerous, delusional, because if you ever owned those emotions, you'd become something they couldn't manage. Unpredictable, strategic, free. Here's the truth they never wanted you to hear. Your mind isn't broken. Your emotions aren't weaknesses. They're weapons, if you know how to wield them. This forbidden switch? It's the moment you stop asking for permission to exist. It's when your self-worth detaches from validation. It's when your presence begins to bend rooms instead of blend into them. Most never touch it, because once you do, you can't go back. You'll lose friends. You'll threaten egos. You'll be called arrogant, cold, and intense. But deep down, they'll feel it, that pull, that unspoken gravity, because the moment you activate this internal command center, people feel your shift, even if they can't name it, and suddenly the world starts responding to you, not the other way around. So ask yourself, why would they want you to stay unaware of it? Next, let's go deeper into what this switch really is, and how most people are conditioned to fear it. So why would they want you to stay unaware of it? Because control is easier when you don't even know you're at war. No guns, no cages, just soft chains, wrapped in comfort, wrapped in likes, distractions, and a slow drip of self-doubt. You were never told to be weak. You were trained to be. From the moment you could think, you were programmed. Not to conquer, but to comply. Not to question, but to nod. Not to sharpen your edge, but to dull it with niceness, humility, and fitting in. And it worked. You don't wake up fighting for your life. You wake up scrolling, comparing, sinking, looking at other people's lives and wondering why yours feels like background noise. You move through the world like a shadow, visible but unseen. This is the silent war on your mind. A war that doesn't need bullets. Just confusion. Just enough shame to make you second-guess your instincts. Just enough comfort to keep you quiet. Just enough noise to drown out your signal. You're not broken. You're misdirected. Your intelligence? Turned inward, chewing itself alive. Your intensity? Numbed with distractions. Your voice? Buried under layers of fake calm. But here's the paradox. The system fears those who wake up. Because once you see the structure, you can't unsee it. And once you stop playing nice, you stop being predictable. You were never powerless, just conditioned to feel that way. And the most dangerous part? You didn't even know it was happening. Next, let's expose exactly how they did it. How identity confusion is manufactured to keep you from flipping the switch. You weren't weak. You were disarmed. They didn't destroy you. They unplugged you before you knew what you were capable of. You were told you were too quiet, too intense, too much in your head. But that wasn't the problem. That was the signal. The sign that your mind ran deeper than theirs could manage. So they didn't fix you. They muted you. They framed your introspection as insecurity, your empathy as overthinking, your emotional depth as a liability. But hear this. There was nothing wrong with you. There never was. Your silence wasn't a weakness. It was potential, waiting. Your hesitation wasn't fear. It was precision, unsharpened. And your self-doubt? That didn't come from within. It was installed. You don't lack confidence. Confidence isn't something you get. It's a mode, a neurological setting. And they turned it off early because an activated mind is unpredictable. A self-aware person? Dangerous. They couldn't break you, so they confused you, blurred the line between humility and self-erasure, between compassion and self-sacrifice, between fitting in and fading out. But once you see it, the illusion dies. You start realizing your flaws were functions, your doubt was designed, and your so-called awkwardness, it's just an untrained presence, raw signal, not noise. You were built to feel deeply, think strategically, move with impact. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to bend reality with your focus, your frame, your force. So stop asking, "What's wrong with me?" Ask, "Who disarmed me? And why?" Next, let's break it wide open, how they built this false self-identity and how to destroy it. Here's what they never taught you. Your brain has a dominant switch. Not metaphorically, neurologically. Buried in the shadows of your mind is a system built to lead. It scans for power, project presence, commands attention. But for most people, it's asleep. Why? Because you were trained to mute it, to prioritize approval over presence, to seek permission instead of projecting certainty. It's called the reticular activating system, the gatekeeper of your awareness. It filters your entire reality based on what you expect to matter. That's the catch. The mind doesn't respond to truth. It responds to dominant signals, internal and external. Enter the expectation effect. Your brain releases neurochemicals not based on facts, but belief. Believe you're secondary, and your body follows. Believe you belong, and suddenly, people mirror that energy. Confidence isn't emotional, it's chemical. It's not about being loud, it's about signaling certainty. Not to others first, to yourself. This is the hidden control panel, the silent code that determines whether people lean in or look away, whether your ideas land or vanish. You've felt it before, haven't you? Those moments where you didn't overthink, didn't flinch, didn't fold, where you walked into the room and something shifted. That wasn't magic. That was the switch. Flipped for a second. You were built to command, but you've been tricked into whispering. Your brain is wired to follow signals. So the question is, are you running on the ones they gave you or the ones you choose to generate? Because once you control your expectation, you control the room. Next, let's go deeper into the mechanics, how to trigger the dominant switch on command and manipulate perception in real time. Now that you see the game, let me show you the cheat code. It's called the 7-second authority protocol, a rapid dominance priming method used by elite operators, shadow negotiators, and psychological tacticians. 7 seconds. That's all it takes to rewire how people read you and how your brain responds to pressure. Step 1. Posture lock. Shift your spine into upright alignment. Chest open, chin level, no tension. Why? Because posture sends feedback to your brainstem. The moment you expand, your nervous system stops, signaling submission. Step 2. Ocular focus. Pick one focal point, dead center. Lock your gaze without strain. This stabilizes the visual cortex and signals presence. Not flight, not freeze, but command. Step 3. Internal narrative override. Right now, say this silently. This room is already mine. I'm not here to take space. I am space. This isn't just positive thinking. It's cognitive priming. Your reticular activating system locks onto that signal, and everything else aligns behind it. Step 4. Power breath. Inhale slowly for 4 counts. Hold for 4, exhale for 4. This isn't to relax, it's to reset dominance chemistry, slows the amygdala, re-engages the prefrontal cortex. You shift from reactive to strategic. That's it. 7 seconds. 4 moves. 1 internal shift. Do this before you speak, before you enter, before you confront. You'll feel it, like a silent click inside your nervous system, because this isn't performance. It's priming. You're not learning how to fake confidence. You're learning how to reactivate it. Next, let's break down how perception works and how your frame becomes the reality others unconsciously obey. Here's where it gets darker. The 7-second protocol wasn't just for you. It was a signal for them, because perception bends reality. And in a social context, perception is power. Social dominance theory makes it simple. The brain is wired to follow strength. But here's the twist. It doesn't follow actual strength. It follows the signal of strength. Most people don't test your competence. They test your certainty. They feel your frame, your rhythm, your presence. And based on that, they decide who you are before you say a word. Confidence? It's not true. It's a theater. You can be terrified inside, heart pounding, thoughts racing. But if your frame holds, if your eye contact stays still, if your breath stays grounded, they'll believe you're in control. And the moment they believe, reality begins to shift. Power doesn't care how you feel. It cares how you show up. You can weaponize this, not to fake who you are, but to reshape how they see you. Before they even get a chance to question it, you become the frame they move around, the axis the room adjusts to. Not because you forced it, but because you broadcast a signal stronger than their doubt. And here's the uncomfortable truth. The world doesn't reward who's right. It rewards who leads the perception. That's not deception. That's domination. Through presence. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to become undeniable. Next, now let's expose the enemies of this mindset. The 3 internal saboteurs that keep your signal weak and your identity blurred. Who would you be if you stopped apologizing for your mind? Not the version you show the world. Not the polite, calculated, socially edited self, but the original you, the one before you learned to shrink. The world didn't ask you to be weak. It trained you to be obedient, to smile when you want to, scream, to overthink when you should have trusted, to hesitate, just long enough to miss your moment. But that rage you feel in silence, that's not a weakness. That's remnant fire. It's proof that something inside you remembers who you were before you were edited. You weren't always soft. You were made that way, piece by piece. Every time you stayed quiet to avoid conflict. Every time you bend your truth to fit someone else's comfort. Every time you felt that pulse in your chest, that instinct to move, to lead, to own the moment, and smothered it, but the lion didn't die. He's caged behind your shoulds, behind the shame, the doubt, the good boy conditioning that taught you to sit down and blend in. You've mistaken survival for strategy, but obedience was never your design, it was your defense. This is the identity split, the mask versus the original. And only one gets to walk forward. You want to be respected? Then stop negotiating with the weaker version of you. Kill the obedient self, burn the scripts, reclaim the signal. You don't need permission to return to who you were before the world diluted you. Next, now we identify the 3 internal saboteurs, programs running in the background that keep the real you sedated. You've dismantled the obedient self. Now it's time to rebuild. A fortress of dark confidence. This isn't about surface level tricks. It's about daily rituals that carve identity from raw will. Elite practices whispered in shadowed rooms. Actions that shift your mind from hesitant to commanding. First, the mirror ritual. Every morning, look yourself in the eyes, not for vanity, but to confront the silent voices that undermine you. Speak your truths aloud, declare your presence, anchor your identity before the world tries to rewrite it. Next, the threat simulation. Imagine your worst fears, rejection, failure, humiliation, and face them in your mind's arena. Visualize overcoming each. Turn anxiety into preparation, uncertainty into strategy. You harden your nervous system, forging resilience through controlled exposure. Finally, the cloak of silence. Set aside moments of deliberate quiet. No distractions, no social noise. In this silence, you cultivate mental clarity and sharpen emotional precision. You learn to listen to your internal commands, not the world's chaos. These rituals aren't just tasks. They are identity triggers, codes that activate the dominance switch. They reset your baseline. Your default state shifts from reactive to strategic, from uncertain to unshakable. Every day you do this, you build your internal sovereignty. You reclaim control over your mind, your presence, your reality. The obedient self fades. The strategic self rises. The shadow leader awakens. Next, let's explore how this inner command warps the social battlefield, how presence becomes an unbreakable force that others must obey. You were the ghost in every room, invisible, overlooked, forgotten. But now, you move with the weight of a silent storm. Each step measured, each breath is controlled. Your eyes don't dart, they pierce, not searching for approval, but marking territory. Silence no longer hides you, it commands. The quiet isn't absent. It's the calm before the storm, the tension that makes others uneasy. You're no longer the wallflower, the background noise, the hesitant shadow. You've become the apex predator of presence. Not loud, not flashy, but undeniable. Introversion isn't your cage. It's your weapon. You don't need to shout to dominate, you simply are. And that alone unsettles the room. When you enter, space shifts. Conversations pause. People lean in, not because you demand it, but because your energy pulls them like gravity. This is transformation, not a costume, but a core rewrite. The dormant confidence you thought was lost, now a constant hum beneath your skin, no longer ghosting through life, but owning every corner you step into, silently, relentlessly, powerfully. This is why you fight. Why do you resist the fading? Because the world belongs to those who show up fully, and you're done disappearing. Next. Now, let's uncover the final truth, the price of this power and the cost of surrender. This isn't a lesson. It's a revolution. The power you've uncovered, the switch, the rituals, the presence, it was banned for a reason, because they don't want you awake. They don't want you commanding. They want you to be obedient, silent, lost in the noise of the masses. But now you know the truth. You were trained to obey, to shrink, to blend. Now you know how to command, to be the storm others sense before it hits. Don't just learn this, live it. Every morning, every breath, every glance. Ritualize the protocol until it's not a tool, but your identity. Because mastery isn't about perfection, it's about relentless practice, about showing up even when doubt claws at your throat. You are no longer a passenger in your mind. You are the driver, the architect of your presence, the shadow no one dares cross. Ask yourself, what will you do with this power? Will you fade back into obedience, or will you rise, become the one they can't ignore? The path is dark, but the prize is sovereignty, control over your mind, your body, your reality. This is your rite of passage, your moment of transformation. The switch is flipped, the game has changed. Now, own it.